Hello again everybody! So today we're back and I'm going to be doing something today which I actually started a couple of months ago and kind of left hanging a bit, and I'm back now to carry on with my series of literary listography. So for anyone who missed the first video, basically there's a whole series of these lists that we sell at Waterstones and a few other places, and this one is literary, so specifically book related, and had a flick through and realised there's a lot of stuff in here that would make some quite good content for my YouTube channel. So, the first video I did a couple of months ago now was on my favourite books ever, and today I'm skipping a bit further forward and it's going to be about books that have made me laugh. So I don't actually read much in terms of humour or comedy titles. Most of what I read is either fictional, smart and non-fiction, and I don't read many things like celebrity or comedian biographies. So when I started thinking about this, it was a much different, more difficult challenge than I expected it would be. Nonetheless, I found that actually there are quite a few books that, whether they're meant to be funny or not, I found quite a lot of humour and found myself laughing out loud a few times. And it is rare that books can get me to actually laugh. But these 5 have all done that, and there are others, but these are the 5 that did it the best for me. So book number 5 on my list is probably one of the most famous ones that I'm going to mention today. It's The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. So this got a massive amount of fanfare in late 2013 when it came out, and the sequel's just come out too. The basic concept is the main character has got Asperger's-like syndrome. So the basic concept is that the main character has kind of got Asperger's-like symptoms, but it's never kind of officially stated. And he's trying to find a wife. Now the way he does this is to devise the Wife Project, which will basically be the form of a questionnaire and interviews, etc., that works out who his perfect woman and perfect match is. Obviously, along the way, he meets Rosie, who goes against everything on his list, but he found himself drawn to her. And it's not the kind of thing I read. It's a little bit chick-litty, like a rom-com in a book, that I don't normally read. I love rom-coms, don't get me wrong, but I don't really read that kind of literature. This, though, I heard got really lots of fanfare and really good reviews, so I gave it a read and actually really enjoyed it. The best thing about this is the main character's perspective. Because he's got these kind of Asperger's-style symptoms, it's really interesting to see things from his perspective, and the way that he views the world is very, very original and very, very interesting and comedic, and I found myself laughing at this quite a few times. I've not picked up the sequel yet, actually, so there's obviously not that kind of drive for me to pick it up again, but I think if you're after a nice, easy read that's going to make you laugh, you can't do much better than this. Number 4 on my list is something actually completely different. It's non-fiction, and it's actually a history title, an utterly impartial history of Britain. So you wouldn't necessarily think this would be the kind of thing that would make it onto a list of books that made me laugh. But what's interesting about this, similar to The Rosie Project actually, is the unique perspective it's told from. So it is a very tongue-in-cheek look at Britain, and it's very interesting in that it makes Britain's achievements out to be really, really incredible achievements and really lauds them, and it's almost like propaganda, but the way the author does it is purposely to take the mick out of it, and it's done really well. It's really interesting. It's actually a really big, thick book, but it's a really interesting analysis of British history, and the way he does it just makes it really readable and funny. So number 3 is something I've only recently finished reading. It's Fin Fancy Necromancy. So I've mentioned this quite a few times on my channel in the past few weeks, and as you can possibly tell by the cover and the designs, it's very geeky funny. So it's about a guy who, when he was 15, got exiled to the other realm, basically away from all his friends and family, for 25 years for a crime he didn't commit, and he comes back and he has missed 25 years of development, so his brain is still stuck in the 80s, but obviously he's in the 21st century, and it's very different. So the real humour in this is that the guy is talking about Commodore 64s and retro games consoles and technology that doesn't fit with the modern society, and it's really, really entertaining. Maybe really nostalgic about the 80s, despite the fact I wasn't alive at the time, but the way it does it is very funny, and I found myself laughing at this quite a few times, but from the cover you'd kind of expect that. I'll be wrapping this up in my end of March reviews of everything as well, so keep an eye out for that. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny, and it lives up to everything the cover suggests it will be. Number 2 on my list is again a little bit different. This is again a non-fiction title, and again it's something I actually read really recently. It's The Psychopath Test by Jon Ronson. So any of you that don't know, I had the chance to meet Jon Ronson last week, and it was incredible, and I thought I'd actually never read any Jon Ronson, so picked this up, and thought, give it a read before I met him. And I have to say, I've not read a book as quickly as I read this in a long time. I think I read it in about 24 hours I'd finished this. I mean, it's not a big book, but it is rare that I will dedicate that much of my time to reading in one kind of go, and I absolutely loved this. I blitzed through it, I thought it was really readable, really interesting, but it's got really, really clever bits of wit and humour stuck in there as well that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And found myself laughing basically every other page, and just a turn of phrase, he's got quite a blunt, quite dry humour, and having met the guy, it's very similar in person. He's really lovely, and this was really funny. I'm really looking forward to reading some more John Ronson soon. Number 1 on my list then, what's going to go to this? So actually this is a book that at the time I didn't really enjoy that much. I thought it was entertaining for what it was, but didn't really grip me or find it that interesting or new. But looking back, actually, I find that this is one of the books that's made me laugh harder than anything else, and as soon as I saw it on the shelf, I knew this was going to be my number 1. It's called The Outsourcer's Apprentice by Tom Holt. So Tom Holt's quite a well-known comedic fantasy writer. He's written quite a lot of books now, and they're all very tongue-in-cheek funny. And this is basically about a fairy tale world, which has got all the standard dragons, Little Red Riding Hood, all those kind of things. And it's been exploited by kind of our world because it's cheaper and better labour, etc. It's very funny. It kind of combines economic things with a fantasy world, and it's very, very cleverly done. It's a really interesting concept, and I laughed at this so much because it's just so well done. It really harkened to things like Discworld by Terry Pratchett, etc. And this was the perfect combination for me of funny and the style of book I normally read, so the fantasy style, and I really enjoyed this. I've not been particularly inspired to pick up any more Tom Holt since, but I think I will do at some point. It's just definitely, when looking back, the book that's made me laugh most out of pretty much everything I've ever read. So there we have it, my top 5 books that made me laugh. I'm really looking forward to doing a lot more of these literary listography videos. I think it's quite interesting to think about books in a way you wouldn't normally. I'd have never thought of doing a books that made me laugh video, but having saw it in this, realised it was perfect, plenty of stuff to talk about. Let's do it. So I'm intrigued to see what else is in there. I've actually not flipped through many of the topics, so I'm intrigued to see how that'll happen. And if you've enjoyed it, leave a like down below and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment as well if you've got any books that you think are funny that I should read. I'm always after books that are going to make me laugh because it's so rare. So if you think you've got anything that's up to the challenge, let me know. If you've read any of these as well, just let me know what you think down below. Other than that, I'll put my Twitter and Goodreads in the description as always, and I'll be back in the not too distant future with my next video.